The most anticipated World Cup 2026 is here and running. And in this video, I'm going to give my prediction for all the 24 games that will be played in the first round of matches. And well, if you're new here, subscribe to the channel. My name is Andy Final. Like this video and comment your thoughts and your predictions to the comment section. I'll be there to interact with you. Without wasting much of your time, let's get started with the predictions. Alright, so starting off the World Cup 2026 predictions, the first game is between Mexico versus South Africa. This is going to be an interesting game, and me being an African, you may think maybe I'm going to support an African country. Probably I'll be happy to see all these African countries in this World Cup doing well, but to be sincere with you, I'm not going to be biased because I'm an African. But going to this game, Mexico versus South Africa, the opening fixture of the 2026 FIFA World Cup. What is my score prediction in this game? In this game, I'm predicting this game to end in a 2-1 victory for Mexico. Mexico 2, South Africa 1. Moving on to the next game too is between South Korea versus Czech Republic. Looking at South Korea, last edition of the 2022 FIFA World Cup, they were able to advance from the group stage with the likes of Portugal from their group. And well, this time around, they are in a group with Mexico, South Africa, and Czech Republic. And looking at these teams, I'm tipping South Korea to get a victory over Czech Republic in this game. My score prediction in this game is going to be a 3-1 victory for South Korea. South Korea 3, Czech Republic 1. Moving on to the next game too is between Canada versus Bosnia. This is going to be an interesting game. Looking at this World Cup being hosted in 3 countries, Mexico, Canada, and the United States. And well, Canada being another host nation, I think this is going to be a tough game for them. Looking at this game coming up, Canada versus Bosnia in World Cup 2026. What is my score prediction for this game? I'm predicting this game to end in a draw. This is going to be the first game that will end in a draw. My score prediction for this game is going to be Canada 1, Bosnia 1. Moving on to the next game is another host nation, United States versus Paraguay. This is going to be an interesting game coming up. Host nation, the United States, facing Paraguay in their first game in this World Cup is going to be a very difficult game. But what is my score prediction? I'm predicting United States of America to get a 2-0 victory over Paraguay. United States 2, Paraguay 0. The next game is between Qatar versus Switzerland. I think this is going to be a very difficult game. Looking at Qatar, last edition of the World Cup was played at Qatar, so they were the host nation, and this time around they've qualified to play in the United States. And well, this is going to be interesting, facing a Switzerland team, which I personally think they are one of the dark horses in the 2026 FIFA World Cup. I think this is going to be a very difficult game for Qatar, but my score prediction in this game is going to be a 3-1 victory for Switzerland. Switzerland 3, Qatar 1. Moving on to the next game is between Brazil versus Morocco. This is one of the most toughest, the most interesting, the most anticipated game that most of us football fans are waiting to watch, because looking at Morocco in the last edition finished 4th. They were the first African country to get to the semi-final of a FIFA World Cup, and this is going to be their second time in a row. Well, going to this game against Brazil, they have all the talents, they have all the players, they have superstars, and this is going to be a very difficult game to watch. Looking at Morocco's performance in recent AFCON, getting to the final, and the drama between Morocco and Senegal at the final, and what this World Cup is going to be interesting. This opening game, Brazil versus Morocco, what is my score prediction? I'm tipping this game to end in a draw. My score prediction in this game is going to be a 2-2 draw. Brazil 2, Morocco 2. Moving on to the next game is between Haiti versus Scotland. I think this is going to be one of the interesting games or one of the easiest games. Looking at Haiti, they are one of the lowest ranked teams in this FIFA World Cup. Going to this game against Scotland also, they struggled to even qualify to this FIFA's World Cup. They were one of the few teams who played in the playoff and qualified for this World Cup. But I think going into this game to face Haiti is one of their easiest games they can get. What is my score prediction? Haiti versus Scotland. My score prediction in this game is going to be Scotland 2, Haiti 0. Alright, moving on to the next game too is between Australia versus Turkey. This is going to be an interesting game coming up in the first round of matches. Looking at Turkey, I'm also tipping Turkey to go far in this year's FIFA World Cup. And their first game is against Australia. Look, last edition of this FIFA World Cup, they were able to advance from their group stage. It was Argentina who knocked them out. But well, going to this game against a Turkey side with players like Arda Güler and so many players, Yildiz, I think Turkey is a team to watch in this tournament. What is my score prediction in this game? I'm predicting this game to end in a 3-2 victory for Turkey. Moving on to the next game too is between Germany versus Curacao. This is going to be one of the easiest games to predict. Looking at the standard of Germany and facing Curacao, one of the lowest ranked teams in this FIFA World Cup, I think this is going to be an easy victory for Germany. The only thing you may ask, how many goals can Germany score against Curacao? And well, my prediction in this game is going to be a 6-1 victory. Germany 6, Curacao 1. Moving on to the next game too is between Netherlands versus Japan. This is one of the tough games in this round of matches. Looking at these two teams, I'm tipping them to advance from their group. And while facing themselves in their first round games, I think it's a good start. And what is my score prediction between Netherlands and Japan? I'm tipping these two teams to even go far in this year's World Cup. So my score prediction in this game, I'm tipping Netherlands to get a 2-1 victory over Japan. But I will not be shocked if this game ends in a draw. Moving on to the next game is between Ivory Coast versus Ecuador. Going to this game is an interesting game by all standards. Looking at Ivory Coast in their recent friendly games, Ivory Coast managed to beat France by 2-1. And I think in this game against Ecuador, looking at Ecuador, they have superstars like Moses Caicedo and so on. So this game is a game to watch. What is my score prediction? I'm tipping this game to end in a 2-2 draw. Ecuador 2, Ivory Coast 2. Moving on to the next game too is between Sweden versus Tunisia. And while going to this game, what is my score prediction? Looking at Sweden, they have so many superstars with the likes of Victor Gyökeres. They struggle to even qualify for this World Cup. They end up in the playoff and they manage to get here. So in this game, playing against Tunisia, an African team who last edition got eliminated from the group stage, this time around, what do I think will happen in this game? Sweden versus Tunisia. My score prediction in this game is going to be a 2-1 victory for Sweden. Sweden 2, Tunisia 1. Moving on to the next game is between Spain versus Cape Verde. Looking at Spain going into this game, they are one of the favorites tipping to win this 2026 FIFA World Cup. But I think it's going to be a very difficult tournament for them because teams are well prepared and going into this game, talking about Cape Verde or talking about Cape Verde. They are one of the least ranked teams in this edition of the FIFA World Cup and playing their first ever FIFA World Cup game against Spain. I think this is going to be a win for Spain. How many goals can Spain score against Cape Verde? But I mean, one thing I love about Cape Verde is their fans. They have beautiful women. They'll be in the stands singing and shouting. I mean, it's going to be an interesting night watching this game. So what is my score prediction? Spain versus Cape Verde. My score prediction is Spain 3, Cape Verde 0. Moving on to the next game is between Belgium versus Egypt. This is going to be one of the tough games in this round of matches. Looking at Egypt, in the last edition, they couldn't qualify. And this time around, they've made it. And probably this is going to be Mohamed Salah last chance in playing the World Cup. And well, what do I think will happen? We have players like Lukaku, Kevin De Bruyne, so many players that this is going to be their last time playing in the FIFA World Cup. So what do I think will happen between Belgium versus Egypt? My score prediction in this game is going to be a 2-1 victory for Egypt. Egypt to Belgium 1. Moving on to the next game is between Saudi Arabia versus Uruguay. This is going to be a very difficult game. Looking at Saudi Arabia, the last edition of the FIFA World Cup at the 2022 Qatar, they ended up winning their first game against Argentina, and going to be another exciting encounter to watch. Looking at how in recent times Saudi Arabia has been able to develop their football and competing on the highest level, I think it's going to be a very difficult game. And talking about Uruguay too, they have the likes of superstars like Darwin Núñez, Valverde, and all sorts of players. But well, I think this is going to be a very difficult game. What is my score prediction? I'm predicting Saudi Arabia to get a 2-1 victory over Uruguay. Saudi Arabia to Uruguay 1. Moving on to the next game too is between Iran versus New Zealand. I think this is going to be an interesting game coming up in this first round of matches. My score prediction in this game is going to be a 2-1 victory for New Zealand. Looking at Iran, it's going to be a difficult World Cup, looking at the circumstance they find themselves in. Moving on to one of the most exciting encounters to look forward in this edition of the FIFA World Cup is between France versus Senegal. Talking about France, in the last 2 editions of the FIFA World Cup, they have made it to the finals and they won the 2018 FIFA World Cup. 2022, they were in the finals, and this time around, how far can they go? Going into this game, in their first game against Senegal, the recent African champions, like Sadio Mane, Nicolas Jackson, they have quality players and solid defense too. What can they do in this game against France? It's one of the most anticipated games I'm looking forward. What is my score prediction? France versus Senegal. I'm predicting this game to end in a 3-2 victory for France. France 3, Senegal 2. Moving on to the next game too is between Iraq versus Norway. Looking at Erling Haaland, this is going to be his first time playing in the FIFA World Cup. And well, Norway, they have superstars like Martin Odegaard and Erling Haaland. They have great players coming into this World Cup. And looking at how they managed to get to this World Cup, being in a group with the likes of Italy, and Norway still managed to qualify ahead of Italy, tells you that this Norway side is a team to look out for in this FIFA World Cup. What is my score prediction between Iraq versus Norway? Talking about Iraq too, they are one of the least ranked teams in this edition. What is my scoreline? I'm predicting this game to end in a 3-1 victory for Norway. I'm predicting Erling Haaland to get brace in this game against Iraq. Norway 3, Iraq 1. Moving on to the next game is the defending champions Argentina versus Algeria. One of the great teams coming out from CAF, which is Africa, and going into this game against the world champions Argentina. I know the Argentina team that won the 2022 World Cup is not the same Argentina. That's why they still have most of their key players with the likes of Messi, Alvarez, Enzo Fernandez. They have most of them. But well, if you look at their form even coming into this game, it's not something good to talk about. But well, going into this game against a decent African side like Algeria with the likes of Mahrez and Co, Chale, is going to be a very difficult game to look out for. What is my score prediction? I'm predicting this game to end in a 2-1 victory for Argentina. Argentina 2, Algeria 1. Moving on to the next game is between Austria versus Jordan. I think going to this game is going to be an interesting game. Looking at Austria in one of their friendly games, they were able to beat Ghana by 5-1. And I think this Austria team is very good. And going to play against Jordan, one of the least ranked teams, I think is going to be a win for Austria. But my score prediction is going to be a 3-1 victory for Austria. Austria 3, Jordan 1. Moving on to the next game too is between Portugal versus DR Congo. This is one of the games that I'm looking out for. Cristiano Ronaldo last dance in the FIFA World Cup, and this is going to be their first game in the first round of matches playing against a very difficult African team, DR Congo, who also qualified through playoffs. I think this is going to be an interesting game to look out for. Looking at Portugal with the likes of Bruno Fernandes, João Neves, Vitinha, Cristiano Ronaldo, Rafael. They have great players going into this game against DR Congo, who also have the likes of Winsa and Coach Ale. It's going to be an interesting game to watch. What is my score prediction? Looking at Portugal, the last edition, their first game was against Ghana, and Portugal managed to get a 3-2 victory over Ghana. This time around, it's against DR Congo. What is my score prediction? I'm still predicting a 3-2 victory for Portugal. Portugal 3, DR Congo 2. Moving on to the next game is between England versus Croatia. It's going to be one of the difficult games to predict. Looking at Croatia, the last edition of the FIFA World Cup, they end up being third, or they end up in the semi-final, and they were third in that FIFA World Cup. And looking at England too, the last edition, they were eliminated by France. They all went far in that edition, the 2022 edition of this FIFA World Cup. And this time around, England and Croatia found themselves in the same group. And what is my score prediction in their first game? I think this group, there will not be much goals. Look at how things are going with the dynamics around this group. I think it's going to be a very difficult group. The goals in that group will be small. My score prediction in this game is going to be a 1-1 draw. England 1, Croatia 1. Moving on to the next game too is between Ghana versus Panama. This is going to be one of the most interesting games because looking at me, I'm a Ghanaian, and well, going to this World Cup, I'm hopeful that Ghana can do well in this FIFA World Cup. Looking at the last edition, Ghana ended up exiting from the group stage that had Portugal, South Korea, and Uruguay, but Ghana ended up exiting in the group stage. This time around, can they go far? Looking at the group that they are in with the likes of Croatia, England, and Panama. This is going to be a very difficult group. If Ghana fail to win, or if Ghana fail to win against Panama, I think it's going to be a very difficult group for them to qualify to the next stage. But well, looking at how things are going in this first round, I think this is a must-win game for Ghana. And what is my score prediction? I'm predicting Ghana to get a 2-0 victory over Panama. Ghana 2, Panama 0. All right, moving on to the last game in this round of matches is between Uzbekistan versus Colombia. This is going to be a tough game, and it's going to be the last game in the first round of matches. What is my score prediction between Uzbekistan and Colombia? Looking at Colombia with the likes of Luis Diaz and Co, I think they have a very decent team. In this game, they are going to get a result against Uzbekistan, one of the least ranked teams in this tournament. My score prediction in that game is going to be a 2-0 victory for Colombia. Colombia 2, Uzbekistan 0. So this has been my prediction for 2026 FIFA World Cup first round of matches. My name is Andy Fine. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and comment your thoughts and your predictions at the comment section. I'll be there to interact with you. Till we meet in another video. Bye-bye for now.